Good morning.
Good morning.
How is everybody?
Good.
Good.
Good morning.
So we've got Hannah today and Jeff today and Stephen. Is that it?
Yep.
Just three? we had a great day yesterday, but I tell you, I know it's.
Dr. Lamb, did you get a email from Jeff?
No. Let me go back. Let me check. I didn't have anything on my phone. I was actually just getting work from him. That's what I was doing. No, I don't have anything on my phone.
Pretty realistic.
I didn't see anything on my phone. I always check right before I start, and then I have it on during. Let me exit full screen and go to my full.
He mentioned that he wouldn't be in attendance for the weekend.
Oh, that. I thought, I'm sorry. He's had I don't know if I should say this, but he's had a death in the family. And I thought there was something that, he
introduced a new character to the show.
He sent me his. We're good. That's what I saw, but I was just grading work of his. I was hoping it wasn't more bad news for him when you said if I gotten an email from him. His mom passed.
Oh no.
Yes. I don't know that was public information, but if it was inappropriate to say, I'm sorry. But yeah, it's been an ongoing thing. So I was hoping there wasn't more. There's other issues as well. So anyway, prayers for him. Prayers for him. Thank you, Jewel. So Hannah, are you ready?
I am. I believe so.
All right. I'm going to make you the host, and we'll go ahead and get started. Welcome everybody this morning. I hope everybody's doing fine. Let's see. There's Hannah. I'm going to make Hannah the host.
So I just share screen?
Yep. You just share your screen. You just share your screen. Let me go full screen view. So I'm recording these, so I need to be on full screen.
Okay, can y'all see that?
Yes, we can.
Okay. All right, so I want to tell you, I do apologize in advance if y'all hear my dog barking. He's a blue tick, and he's been barking all night. So
I'm sorry.
I appreciate if y'all, I apologize if y'all hear him talking or barking. Sorry about that. Okay, so my project, I did mine with DSS in Gaston County. So I'm going to kind of go over their purpose and their mission statement, their goal to start off with. So their purpose is to protect, care for, and empower children and adults who are administrating of federal, state, and community programs focused on improving the well-being of our citizens. Their vision statement is to promote economic and educational well-being. Gaston County is building a foundation for a safe, healthy, and prosperous community. When in need, Gaston County's public and private sectors respond with a full complement of accessible and integrated services to help restore and advance self-sufficiency and health. So their goal is to foster an agency which is professionally responsive to citizens' needs through daily caring, outreach, and simultaneously serve as an advocate for those in need. They strive to be community-minded and community-spirited. The Department of Social Services abides by federal, state, and county operating instructions in providing services, as well as assisting in the welfare of recipients in attaining self-sufficiency. Their mission statement is to enhance the quality of life of Gaston County by caring for, protecting, and empowering the community to live healthy lives in a healthy environment. So to their issue, they currently have no hiring committee. When they interview all the selected candidates all at one time. When the interview questions are presented, each candidate is asked the same question one by one in front of one another. This kind of leads to the piggybacking thing. Once one person answers a question, it's like each person after that is answering the same question the same way. It's just kind of reworded. One time they had 5 people interviewing, and then another they had 8. So it just kind of varies. They don't really have a limit on how many people they are interviewing at a time. So to my qualitative analysis, the methodology that I chose to use was phenomenology, and that is the study of how people describe things and experience them through their senses. It's the study of people's conscious experience of their life world, and that is their everyday life and social action. So my proposal consists of a committee of 5 people from different departments. Each person will have another individual in place should they be unable to fulfill this obligation and are unable to attend. This committee will interview one individual at a time, so we're going to get away from the group interviews. The second round of interviews should be with the supervisor of the department. This will help with good fit personality-wise to be sure that the supervisor is able to get along with the candidate that is hired. So looking at my organizational chart, I kind of went from different departments to make this. Gaston County, they're not all housed in the same building. So they have human resources is in one building, maintenance is located in another location. So they're kind of separated out. So we do have the backup plan for if one person's not available to be there on the committee, then another person will. So I selected the human resources director, and if she's not available, then one of the business services administrator will step in. The maintenance coordinator, if one of them's not available, then we're going to go with a quality assurance specialist, the adult and aging services coordinator, and then we're going to go with adult and aging assistants. The special projects manager, if he's not available, we're going to go with one of the economic services supervisor, and an employee from the hiring department. We're always going to have someone from that department on the committee. So now looking at my quantitative analysis, I was kind of looking at different reasons people might stay in a job or they may possibly leave. I found this, I kind of really like this chart. It kind of centers around job satisfaction. I know we kind of went over Herzberg yesterday, so I'm going to kind of touch on that a little. But for job satisfaction, many people look at good salary, career growth, work-life balance, job security, recognition, and challenges. So during my research, I kind of looked at 2 different theories. The first one that I looked at was the hierarchy of needs by Maslow. This is something I know we learned in another class, so I just kind of built upon that. In summary, the hierarchy of needs is the human beings are motivated by hierarchy of needs. Needs are organized in a hierarchy of prepotency in which more basic needs must be more or less met, rather than all or none prior to higher needs. The order of needs is not rigid, but instead may be flexible based on external circumstances or individual differences. Most behavior is multi-motivated, that is simultaneously determined by more than one basic need. So looking at Herzberg's 2 factors theory, it's 2 factors, which is the hygiene factors and the motivator factors. So with the hygiene factors, we look at salaries, wages, and other benefits, company policy administration, the good interpersonal relationships, quality of supervision, job security, and working conditions and work-life balance. When these are in place, the factors result in general satisfaction and prevention of dissatisfaction. The motivator factors are sense of personal achievement, status, recognition, challenging or stimulating work, responsibility, and opportunity for advancement, promotion, and growth. And when these are in place, The factors will result in high motivation, high satisfaction, and strong commitment. So when comparing both of those theories, we look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs and Herzberg's 2 factors. So Herzberg's 2 factors motivators are, they fit in with Maslow's self-actualization and the esteem and self-esteem of others. And that's the motivators of achievement, recognition, work itself, responsibility, and the opportunity for advancement. And looking at those hygiene factors, the interpersonal relationships, company policy, administration, supervisor salary, and working conditions, those all kind of fall into Maslow's belonging and love, safety and security, and the basic psychological needs. So when looking at those 2 theories, I came up with a 6-month employee questionnaire. Right now we're sending this out as a like a survey monkey. We're also working on exit interviews. When sending these out, some things that I've kind of ran into is the current, the project manager wants to submit these knowing what department they are from. It asks questions like, what department are you from? It even asks their name, you know, things like that. And we're trying to keep this anonymous as possible. But my sample is everybody who's been hired within 6 months. So we'll know who it's coming from anyway. So some of the questions that I chose to go with was, I'm encouraged to do my best. I feel comfortable expressing my ideas. I find my work meaningful with vision. I'm valued for my contributions. I have the opportunity for growth and career advancement. My supervisor communicates departmental news effectively and in a timely manner. My job responsibilities have been clearly defined. Management seems invested in the success of my team. My supervisor values my feedback. I am happy with my job. I can discuss anything with my supervisor. My job utilizes my skills and abilities as much as possible. I feel connected to my coworkers. Work is distributed evenly across my team, and then I'm leaving one blank for them to leave their comments and concerns. And then I have my references. The end. Okay, does anybody have any questions?
No, that's great. Again, you have a sound theoretical background for your study. If you'd go back 2 or 3 slides, well, that's okay. I just want to reiterate what Hannah said. When looking at Maslow in combination with Herzberg, okay, thank you. Go back a couple of slides here if you can. Back. Oh, right there. Please remember what she said on the previous slides. These things aren't exactly linear. And go back to the next one with with your triangle, with your Maslow triangle. That one. They aren't exactly linear in terms of everybody follows the same path. They're different paths, but in general, I wanted to say this. This is the point I wanted to make. In organizations that are what we would call white collar organizations like this one, what we're talking about, you might be white collar in the HR, but you might have different departments like Gaston, DSS, like or the county services. And the point that Hannah was making is, and different people from different departments have different needs, and you've got to recognize that in the hiring. White collar people are more toward the top of this. Blue collar people are positions, maintenance, custodial, are sometimes toward the bottom. That's not a derogatory statement. Different people have different needs, and one of the reasons why, when Hannah and I talked about her project, you need people from that department on the hiring, is they're more in tune and more in sync with that job and that set of needs. if you just have a standard group over here that does not relate to that job or what that job entails, sometimes there's not a goodness of fit for the employee, but not because of the fault of the employee. The organization didn't realize that that was important. And you always want your hiring committee to be grounded and to be relevant to the job that's being hired. That's what this chart tells us. If we look at it from an organizational sense and a leadership perspective, again, we're training to be leaders. We are leaders. And from the leadership perspective, we've got to understand the interplay of needs and satisfaction and motivation. We've got to understand those. We don't just need to understand them for current employees. We need to understand that function, which is several factors together in that triangle. We need to understand that function when we're hiring people as well. And so I think that you're on to something really smart here, really, really strong and powerful, not just for this organization, but for all organizations that have different levels of work inside of that organization, that you can't just have a standard committee that hires for every department and everywhere, that you've got to customize your hiring process. I like that you developed, now again, we talk about, reliability and validity when we're using instruments, and we understand we can't publish, but in organizations, a lot of times you have to customize to you what you're trying to find out. And I like that you took data and feedback to customize your move one more slide, your things that you wanted to know, your survey. I like that you customize that for the needs of the organization. And yeah, there you go. That you customize that so you can kind of figure out what's important for each different department. And so I said that to say this: what I might do is figure out a way, not to ask them what department they're in, but to color code or use a number or something so that you can sort it by department. And what you're going to find is these surveys, I suspect, are going to be very different according to which department they're in. And that's going to help you craft that individual interview system for that department. That's what you're going to, in the end, that's where you need to be.
Okay.
That's a little trick we use in the survey business. So that you can sort these by those. So because they're not going to be, again, they're not the answer that these questionnaire responses are not going to be linear either. Again, you're going to find different responses for different departments according to the individual characteristics of the people in those departments.
Right.
So that's what that's what Hertzberg says you're going to find, and again, Maslow, the combination. So your theoretical underpinning here is absolutely wonderful. A sound conceptual framework for the work that you're doing, and you always got to have a framework. If not, you get lost. But excellent work.
Thank you.
Anybody else have anything else that they'd like to share? All righty. I'm going to reclaim the host and hit and I'm going to, there we go, make stuff in the host. Yes. All right.
Can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. You can go ahead and share now.
All right, you can see it?
We can.
Okay. All right, so this is my data analysis. Hold on. Okay. All right. So first, let me start with a little bit of the organizational background and issue. So I'm currently doing my project on North Carolina A&T, more specifically the Blue and Gold Marching Machine, the band program that they have there. Right now, the program, it started in 1918. The current director is Kenneth G. Ruff, and there's approximately like 175 band members. And what they've been battling right now is hazing issues. More attention has been on the bands since the death of Robert Champion at FAMU. So universities are really taking it seriously when students report any kind of hazing, or if there's any kind of allegations, if they're getting calls from parents. And the unfortunate thing is that in a lot of these cases that we're finding out, they're just firing the band director and staff, you know. So talking to the band director, he initially put together a driven program, which was a rites of passage program. When he formed it, he got with some of the staff and some of the students and said, okay, what can take the place of this whole pledging process that you guys have to go through to make the first year students earn their keep in the program, you know? So they laid it out. It might have been like, okay, let's learn band history. Let's make sure that you know your scales. Let's make sure that you know this and that. And, you know, you had some student input, but they weren't current students at the time, current band members at the time, you know. So the buy-in has been a little rough. So I am currently a staff member with the band. I'm their photographer. And I used to be on the drum line. So what he did is he asked me to help revamp this program. So that's what I have been doing right now, just going in and analyzing what's been going on with it and trying to make it better. So this next one. All right, so the methodology here, I chose ethnography. For me, this study places emphasis on the culture and the social regularities of everyday life. You know, it allowed me to participate with the study and assist with the assessment of different views and how it compares to the organization. So my quantitative data, there's two things that I went through. Right now we have a 4-point Likert scale, but also using trend data. The trend data comes from the National Study of Student Hazing, which they had 11,482 survey responses, which were web-based. 53 colleges and universities were involved in this study, and 300 interviews were done face-to-face. One thing that I have struggled with, though, is actually trying to get hazing data from A&T. Like, I don't know if it's an embarrassment or what, but I kind of get the runaround. Like, you know, the band director will say, well, I don't have the information. You need to go to student affairs. And then I'll contact student affairs, and you need to contact the police department. You know, and it's just kind of just like a go over here, go over there and get that. They'll get it to you. You know, so I had to use the National Study of student hazing for this one. All right, so with that national study, we've come to realize that 55% of college students are involved involved in clubs, teams, and organizations experience hazing. 25% of coaches or organizational advisors are aware of the group's hazing behaviors. More students perceive positive rather than negative outcomes of hazing, and 9 out of 10 students who have experienced hazing behavior in college do not consider themselves to have ever been hazed. All right, and this is an example of the Likert scale. All right, asking is hazing an issue in the BGMM, which is Blue and Gold Marching Machine? Does the BGMM need to shift from their current culture? Is the driven program working? Students and staff and student leadership are on the same page. Does my section or adhere to the driven program's policies? Being accepted by my peers is more important than following the rules of the program. Do I feel comfortable talking about what goes on behind the scenes? And strongly agree, disagree, agree, or strongly agree. Students who have experienced at least one hazing behavior, the band falls under the Performing Arts organization, so they're at 56%. All right. And also, the most frequently reported hazing behaviors with marching bands and chorus are the singing the chants by themselves with select groups in public, in a situation where it's not related to the event, game, or practice, participating in drinking games associated with specific people and not others, deprive yourself of sleep, drink large amounts of non-alcoholic beverages, endure harsh weather conditions without appropriate clothing, drink large amounts of alcohol to the point where you get sick or pass out, attend a skit or roast where other members of the group may be humiliated, be awakened during the night by other members, and then also performing sex acts with the opposite gender. So this is just an example of some of the things that that are going on. So, of course, because of the pandemic, not all of the interviews have been completed. The goal is to at least interview 75 members of the band, but some have already been interviewed via face-to-face. We've done FaceTime. We've also done phone calls. This summer, we set up a focus group, which consists of 22 student members. Those are the student leaders and the drum majors of the band. All right. But out of the interviews that I've done, it was a 10 questionnaire interview, and the things that surround the perspectives, the perspectives of the participants right now are basically broken down to the sense of belonging, selfish decisions, and lack of execution and accountability. So the implications right now, the evidence that in fact it may provide institutions with a clear understanding of where additional resources need to be invested to address these issues. The research will also be able to provide administrators and staff with best practices in approaching the issue in university band programs. The university can and will have significant financial gain, a drop in hazing incidents and allegations, and will determine the financial return on investment. Meaning that, of course, when we lose students, you lose that tuition, and that tuition that is usually $5,000 a semester. I mean, that adds up. So that's the investment that you are potentially getting back. Now, some of the assumptions that I have here are that the retention rate for members returning to the university and program will increase Academic progress will also increase for the members of the program or organization. The institution fully supports the revitalized rites of passage program. Members of the organization will have a better overall experience at the university. And last but not least, if the hazing allegations in the university band program continue, the director of bands and his staff will be asked to resign. So some of the recommendations that I have that I plan on adding more to, of course, but right now, revamping the Driven program with student involvement to gain student buy-in, provide leadership training for students. They definitely need to start dismissing those from the program immediately when rules are violated or they're not going by the guidelines. Increase staff support and involvement in the implementation of this Driven program, and create checks and balances to verify that everyone is on board and on the same page. When I talked to a lot of the students, they were saying that they felt that their peers just broke the rules because they said nobody else was checking in on them. Like, you know, the program says we're not about to, oh, we can't meet at night and do this, but there's nobody there to make sure that, oh, is there a dorm call or a hall check for first year members? You know, are they in their room? Are they off campus? Are they at study hall? Yeah, so there's no checks and balances right now. So so people are just kind of running rapid. All right, any questions?
All right, excellent presentation. A very worthy topic. I'm glad that you linked this back to 730. Organizational culture, organizational climate. This is a culture issue, not just for BMMM. This is a culture problem throughout colleges, in all bands and athletics. It transcends race. It transcends discipline. It transcends panhellenic fraternities and sororities. This is an issue throughout colleges with specific organizations. I think the implications here are, and what that means is, it's a cultural problem, and so it needs to be studied and needs to be addressed. But I think you hit upon the problem. This is a leadership problem. You can have all the rules and regulations in the world in place, but unless they're enforced, unless somebody is collecting the data, somebody is monitoring to make sure that those rules are A, in place, and B, being followed, you won't see a change in behavior. And that links back to what you were referring to in terms of culture and follow up and follow through. That nobody wants to give you the data tells you that they don't really want to have to be involved in that. And so that leads me back to Getzels and Guba, or organizational theory. I always go back to the old stuff. Let me reclaim the host. What we need for you to do every day in the organization is what you have to want to do every day. And what you have to want to do every day is make sure that your program is that the culture that you desire is actually being supported and monitored and enforced on a daily basis. That's what the band director and the leadership of the band and the college has to want to do, rather than something else. And if not, there's a disconnect, and that's how these types of things happen. This is a leadership issue. That's, the things you learned in 732. This is not a data issue from 738. This is not some of the other things. This goes back to culture, climate, and leadership. But it goes back to what you learned in organizations is, we can talk about Collins, or we can talk about any of the theories. We can talk about Northhouse, or but the problem is we've got to hire and support leadership that understands that this is the job. The job is not music, it is not band and formations. The job is setting the culture and enforcing that culture. That's the job of a leader. And so when people, that's the difference in management and leadership. Management just makes sure that you got uniforms, that the bus is there to take you to the games, that everybody knows their part. That's management. Leadership is setting the culture of the organization and following up on that culture, and understanding that that's my job. If we were talking about public schools, which we all have or K-12 schools, we all have a common basis for, it would be, we hire administrators to get in the classroom and see what's going on. We can't just assume that what we want happened is happening. We have to, that has to be what we want to do every day, is to know that what we intend to be going on is going on. Now we take that to this. Well, again, it's a school example. In college, it doesn't stop at for some reason we have this notion that time we get them through the 12th grade and we've matriculated them out, that we don't have to go and check on what's going on in individual classes or programs. That's not true. Organizationally, we have to understand that we have to work on our culture every day. And that follow through, that fidelity check, are things going as we intend them to go? That's what leadership is. That's the difference between leadership and management, and that's your theoretical framework here. Is culture, organizational culture set by leadership. That's your framework in terms of what is the leader behavior. And until that leader behavior, A, recognizes that there is a problem, and B, wants to address that problem, you're not going to see any change. And so your project is really about awareness of the problem and trying to unfreeze that behavior, and then move them to a place, offering them an alternative. But don't overlook the piece where you've got to make them aware and unfreeze current practice. That's culture, and that's where you're going to have to do your work, and it's going to take a lot of skill and political savvy and finesse. This requires a lot of that, because unfortunately, a lot of the people who are currently running bands, running athletic programs, involved in running fraternities, they all are a product of that, and they've been through this, and so they don't really see the need to change, and so therein is going to lie your problem. But a worthy project, going to be more difficult than you think, but eminently doable, as you have found. All right, anybody else have any questions or comments?
I do. Stephen, do you think you have an upper hand being a staff member and a former band participant? Meaning, do you feel like the students are more open with you than they might be with someone that is not connected at all?
Yes and no. So that's a great question. I meant to talk about that. So because I was on the drum line feels comfortable talking to me. So when I talk to other band members, when I started the interview process, a lot of them just straight up lied to me. Like, you know what I mean? And after I told them, like, hey, I already went through it. Like, you know, you don't have to lie to me and say, you know, because I already know what section you're a part of, and I already know what goes on in the section. Plus, you know, through being on staff, I have already observed it, you know, since band camp. So I was like, you know, even though I'm not talking to you about it, I'm looking at you, and I can see that you're going through a little thing, okay, and I know when it's over as well. So, but yeah, after it's gonna take some time to get that trust, because a lot of people don't even want to talk about it, because you know it's like a secret society. Don't, you know, I don't know what you're talking about, like, you know. So it's difficult,
Like
and
the
that's why it's
mafia.
even hard to get that data, you know. So
Stefan, I would we're planning our leadership retreat right now, and so I'm literally talking to the VC, but I wanted to know if you might be willing to come in and do like a 30-minute virtual session on hazing for our students.
oh yeah, absolutely.
It was very informative. Thank you.
Yeah. A worthy topic that transcends just your place. And so I think your implications are that this could lead to bigger things for you. Of course, everybody's consultancy is designed to lead them, you know, to higher levels of leadership. I think this one is prescient. I think it's modern. It's now. It's time that we deal with these issues, not just in bands, but other college organizations as well.
Dr. Lamb, if I can say something, I'm also a part of a fraternity, Alpha Phi Alpha, and we actually kind of did. I wouldn't say it was necessarily an experiment, but we observed behaviors as far as the, like, say, the last line, 2019. They we had the grad chapter bring them in, so we cut out any kind of interference from undergraduates. So we made sure nothing happened, you know, and they just went through their regular classroom sessions that, you know, they're supposed to with Alpha, and got their letters, and they were good, right? Come spring the 20, you know, you find out that they're doing stuff to them, and it was like, wait a minute, but nothing was done to you, you know what I mean? And it's like we were trying to figure out, like, how is this possible that
Culture.
somebody that didn't go through anything put somebody else through something, and then the people that were put through something, how you let somebody that didn't go through something put you through something. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So it's an interesting thing, but it's a whole, it's about acceptance in the world, though. Like,
Yeah.
not even just in the program. It's just like, I want everybody to know that I have earned it. And I gave them an example. I said, hey, I could give you $100, or I could punch you in the face and give you $100. Which one do you want? You know what I mean? Take the $100.
May I ask a question to Stefan?
But that's an example of culture.
Yeah.
It transcends cohorts because it's a cultural thing.
Is there research about why the need for the hazing? And so it is something, Dr. Lamb made a good point, that it's something that happens in athletics, you know, other, you know, fine arts like the band. But is there a reason as to, is there a difference in respect level in these organizations? So I come from, you know, I have family members who are in fraternities and sororities. They've seen the process that they've gone through. And then I've seen the difference, even with the grad chapters. There's still, it's amazing to see people in their 30s and 40s and still kind of the underground stuff. There's a respect level, as almost as if you're not as
authentic.
Your earning rights are not as validated. So, you know, with the hazing, why is that necessary to be for like the sense of belonging. So I don't know, I guess with your research, as you continue to do it, that might be something to explore, what differentiates them, especially when you think about band and everybody's there on scholarship, you know, and so being the first year, you've proven yourself because you've been you've been given a financial award when you think of something like band. So what more proving do you have to do? So that would be interesting as you do more research. What is the compelling why for having to go through that process when they're kind of all there under the same pretenses, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's I think that's a worthy area of study. You know, climate is part of culture. And I would focus on climate. Not to get too deep this morning into the content of 7:30, but people use culture and climate interchangeably. They're not. Climate is a part of culture, but that's kind of where you've got to start with. Climate is what's going on now, what's happening in the day-to-day. Culture is the bigger organizational piece that's generational, that's long-term. But you got to start with climate surveys and climate work to find out what's happening now, and how can we change what's happening now and make that change permanent in order to eventually affect the culture. See, what happened with what you were talking about, the spring-fall deal, is that you affected the climate for one semester, but that didn't plug into changing the overall culture. That's why you got to understand culture and climate are not the same thing. Climate's just a function of right now in the culture. And you got to extend beyond what you're doing right now, and you got to work on the bigger culture piece. And that requires more groups. Climate just works on the members of the organization right now. Culture extends to alumni, potentials, future, current, all three groups. So just working on one of those groups won't change the culture. You've got to work on all three. And I said future as well. There's got to be an understanding when you recruit people in of the expectations. You've got to work with the alumni groups. You've got to work with the current group. That it's a three-phased or a three-headed hydra. If you just work on the currents, you will not change the culture. It's a three-phase attack that you've got to have if you want to change the culture of an organization. Alumni, currents, future, as you recruit people in. It's a three-phase attack, back to what we learned in 7:30. But again, remember, climate is not culture. It's just a part of it. It's just the immediate piece. And that's only 1/3. And in most organizations, unfortunately, it's the alumni, the people who have been through it, the formers, that hold the power, that are kind of the keepers of the flame. You know, those are the people that are the hardest to change. But without changing them, you will regress. You'll slip right back. And also the people that you're entering in is one of the things that Keisha just said. The new people coming in, what are their expectations? And some of them feel like they've got to go through this to validate them, to make them authentic. So again, you've got three groups, and each of them have different needs, and you've got to address those needs with them. And you've got, in order to affect an organizational change. And so not an easy task, and that's why it just can't be done overnight. It almost has to become generational because of the alumni piece of that. Okay, what's next? What have we got to do? What have we missed? What do we need to cover today that we've missed? We're good on our time this morning. We've got time to work through anything that we need to work through. Now, when you present your final executive summary and project, I want to give you a couple of ideas to think about along the way. It's going to be down the road a while. You're halfway through the program. When you get 3 semesters out, we'll begin to talk about that process. When you get 2 semesters out, we'll begin to put your executive summary together. You'll have an editor for that. You'll have a presentation that goes with it. It'll be much like today. That's kind of the style of today in terms of right now it's online. By the time that you folks get there, you'll be in person. But the thing again is going to be you'll have a PowerPoint presentation that you will cover during your final defense. Remember, no more than 20 slides. Don't read the slides. You'll refer back to your theoretical framework. That's why I've tried to point that out. You'll refer back to that in terms of what you've learned, what you through your consultancy. You'll be asked how this impacted your leadership, and and we'll talk more about that later. But be thinking about it, in the end of this program, the project was really you. I know you've heard Dr. Hamilton tell you that, but he's exactly right. The project was you. Was developing your leadership. How do all of these projects that you put together, we call milestones, and the projects within them, how have they influenced your leadership? And that will reference back your 732 course on leadership. And so hopefully you took away some leadership theories and concepts from that, but I would encourage you to make sure that you understand that this process is about you. You'll have to do a professional literature review in your area. You know how to do that now. We covered that. Professional literature review is as I have commented to all of you in your discussion boards, make sure that you're not using Google and Twitter and things like that. Validated and reliable sources of data. That's what you'll use for your professional literature review. We all know how to do that. So you have a solid foundation of being able to put that project together. You understand methodology. Methodology is how you collect data and then how you analyze it, and how you collect it will determine then how you can analyze it. You understand methodology, you understand presentation, you understand technical writing, all the pieces that really matter when it comes time to putting your final defense together. You got those this semester. That was our overarching again, we're not training you to be quants. We're training you to be organizational leaders who understand their numbers and their importance, how to get them, how to analyze them, what they mean. That's basically what your final project is all about. It's about you, the leadership that you developed, and these are skills and abilities that you have. So keep that focus as you go through. I am available all the time. I take calls and emails every day. Because you're not in my class going forward doesn't mean that I'm not available. I'm always available. Keep my number, keep my email. We can Zoom, we can meet as your project develops. I will work with you on your methodology all the way through. If you have questions, issues, analytics issues, I'll plug you into Dr. Scarlett or her husband, Mitch. If we need expert help. The university has bought Qualtrics now. Now, they haven't bought all the pieces of it, but they bought the basic platform of Qualtrics, which is you can use for survey, for open-ended, for qualitative work, and it can define your themes. It does analysis. So if you want to use that, get in touch with me. We can do that. Most of you are using other forms, which are also, since we're not doing dissertation work, you can use SurveyMonkey or Google has, you can use some of those. But if you want to do Qualtrics, just let me know, which can help you, especially in the area of qualitative analysis of open-ended surveys. where there's not set examples where you just give them a blank and say, here, tell me. If you're going to do that, I would highly recommend using Qualtrics because it really is helpful in the data analysis. But other than that, I don't have anything else. I appreciate everybody being with us this semester. Thank you for choosing Gardner Webb and the DEOL program. We enjoy having you. You've been a great group this semester. You've all contributed. I don't really try to get too emotional at the end, but I think you have the potential, and that's an ugly word, I know, but you have the potential not only to become great leaders, you have the potential to shape the organizations that you're working with, and that's what we really, that's what leaders in the end are supposed to do, is have an impact on the organizations that they lead. I know that you're doing that now. You can lead from where you are, but you have the potential to do greater things. Don't sell yourself short. That's always my sermon. It kind of at the end when we get to the benediction here. You can hear "Just as I Am" playing in the background. You have the potential to do great things for people. And in the end, that's your mission as a servant leader, is to serve others and do great things for them. I thank you again for your time and attention. If there's anything you need, do not hesitate to let me or Dr. Hamilton know. I know you're going to have a good time this summer in the e-learning class. I believe Dr. Robertson teaches that. And so the content is very good and she's very good. And so I know you're going to have an enjoyable summer. Don't be a stranger. Keep in touch. And I will turn it over to Dr. Scarlett for the final comments this morning.
I've enjoyed all of your presentations, and I really, really hope that in the future, if you have any questions in terms of the research design, if there's anything I can help, I will be here available. Happy to help you all the time.
Thank you. Anybody with any closing comments before we go today? All right. Have a good rest of your weekend. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye. Stay safe.